In this video, I'm going to be testing two of the more recent models that Lake have in the range. The CX333 and the CX21R. Now, these shoes have a few similarities and a few key differences. The CX21R is modelled as a lighter weight road shoe with a lace-up option that makes it really suitable for time trialists because the lack of a boa makes it quite aero, believe it or not, especially when it's covered. It's also very well ventilated, so it's been very good in hot climates and hotter days, especially compared to the 333, which is a shoe of a similar last and shape. It's just like covered in leather, so it just feels a little bit hotter, especially on longer days in the saddle in really hot conditions. The CX333 is my primary road shoe, so I'm using this shoe more than any other shoe in the Lake range. As seen here with no insoles in it, it's 325 grams, and that includes a Shimano cleat on the bottom and 275 grams for the lace-up shoe, the CX21R. The models are very similar in terms of the last, so the shape of the shoe is basically the same. The difference is the upper. So the upper is variable with respect to the material that's been used and also the closure systems. On the 21R is a lace-up. Now that actually provides quite a lot of flexibility for someone like me, in the sense of I've got quite a narrow heel, quite a broad forefoot, and my toes are quite low volume, but my midfoot's actually relatively high volume. So I can really fiddle around with these laces and get the fit that I want when I'm putting the shoe on. It does require a little bit of faffing around, for lack of a better term, before a ride, getting your foot in the right place, so banging your heel right back, and also just spending the time tightening up the laces, and potentially also being willing to stop your ride, or at least kind of get on your bike and double check that the heel retention is exactly how you want it. If you know, once you've used these shoes a few times, you do get a little bit more used to how you need to tie them to get your heel doing what you want in the back of the shoe. And that'd be the only thing I would say is like a drawback of the shoe itself, but it's a drawback of any lace-up shoe. So you kind of goes with the territory with the laces themselves. The leather upper in the 333 and the boas, it's easier to get your foot inside this shoe first time, bang it on, and just not think about it for the next 4 hours when you're out riding your bike. The heel retention is taken care of by the heat moldable rear. Also the fact that the way that the tongue comes across when this top boa is done up, it feels easier that for your foot in terms of the way that it's held inside the shoe. One of the drawbacks of these shoes, if you have quite a low volume midfoot, is that the distance between this bit of the tongue and this bit of the upper here is quite small when you start to ratchet up. If you have quite a low volume midfoot, you might struggle to get this tight enough without feeling like your foot's like fully retained, but you can get around that quite nicely with a very good insole. Usually half the problem is when you ratchet this top boa up, someone's foot will just kind of collapse, whereas if there's some support underneath the shoe in the arch, it doesn't really happen. But still worth mentioning, it's something that I've found. Just some things worth comparing in the upper as well would be the material choice. So the microfiber and the leather are two very different experiences, especially when the shoe is brand new. When you put your foot in the 333 with the leather upper, your foot goes in and the leather very quickly molds around your feet. Feels like there's more space inside the shoe for the same last, but a lot of that is to do with the way that the boas are slightly more tunable, and also you have the fact that just like the leather material itself just is a bit more stretchy. There's just nothing in my forefoot area right now when I'm out riding the bike, like absolutely no complaints at all. The microfiber uppers that Lake do are very high quality, but they take a few more rides to soften off and encapsulate your foot. So the first ride I had in these shoes, personally didn't feel like the shoes fitted me very well, and I was unsure if I maybe should have gone a slight half size or so bigger. However, once I'd sweated into them a little bit on a ride, I felt that the thing that gets me, which is my little toe, just feels like it's rubbing the outer when I get a new pair of shoes around about here on the inside, I felt that went away halfway through the second ride I had in them. And I was, at that point, I was 50-50 whether or not I'd made the mistake of maybe just needing a slightly bigger size because of the microfiber upper. But in actual fact, now I don't even think about it when I'm riding. It never bothers me. Out the saddle, the heel cup feels super retained. It's just something that I'm not even thinking about. To be honest, because I've not really nailed the heel cup on my 333s yet, the 21R with no heat molding at all feels more secure because of the way that the laces are tied than the 333 does right now. On the pedal, the foot can just relax. I wonder if you can just see I'm just moving my toes around quite well. There's absolutely no movement inside the shoe, and out the saddle as well. Obviously the airflow in the 21R, especially as the speed goes up and increases, is a massive contributor to how ventilated the shoe feels and just the coolness effect. You've got a nice cooling effect on the shoe as you pedal basically, which isn't there. And obviously there's slightly thinner material, so there's less insulation in the 21R, which is good for hot days too. There's your comparison between the CX20R and the CX333.